Welcome back inside the Now Morning Show. Of course, every Monday morning, the TTPS join us on Now. This morning, we welcome back Inspector Michelle Lewis. Good morning to you, Inspector.
Good morning to the both of you, and good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. It's always a pleasure to be here.
How are you doing this morning?
I'm well, thank you. And how are you?
Good.
Alive and kicking.
Yeah, alive and kicking, and happy to be here, Inspector. One of the things that we would love to touch on, of course, we're speaking about updates on the SOE, but we do need to clear up is the conversation surrounding the gun amnesty. We would have touched on it, and of course, we've seen further developments over the past week.
Yes, so last week when I was here, I mentioned that Section 11 wasn't clear in terms of the gun amnesty. And so we have gotten some more clarity. So it is not in effect as yet. That portion of the act is not in effect as yet. That is to say that persons cannot come in with their firearm to the station or that kind of thing. So what we will advise persons to do who know of places where illegal firearms and ammunition are located or lodged, that they can call the TTPS 999-555, call the station district, let the officers know, and the officers will be the one to come and remove and seize those illegal firearms and ammunition. What we don't want happening, since it is not clear and it is not in effect, that persons take it upon them own selves, as you were alluding to last week, and bring it into the station, and then, of course, officers will have seen it. And so it sort of sounds like if it is an excuse, but truth in fact, the law does not provide for it under the SOE at this time. At this time, right? So, but the portion is there, just it is not in effect.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Understood.
So what's the update you have for us on the SOE
Well,
this
of course, we have some persons. So the SOE, the state of emergency, let's say it has been happening about 2 weeks now. And so persons will see, because some of the concerns person had and still do is in relation to when you see the police, you know, plain clothes and that kind of thing. So what we have been doing, the corporate communications unit has been actually posting some of the videos of officers on exercise. Persons can have an idea of what they would see, what you would get. So you will see marked police vehicles, you would see officers in the blue and grey, and of course women police in the all blue, right? So that is visual for you, and that is reassurance that the police, it is authentic, genuine police officers of the TTPS conducting their exercises or their police operations. One of the things that we also want to let persons know that if you have any concerns, because within we are hearing of persons who have concerns in relation to customer service where police is concerned and the way the police interact with you, members of the public. Customer service, as we know, prior to the SOE, has been something that we have been treating with as an organization, as a professional organization. In this case, in the SOE, we remind persons that you can still make your report or your complaint to the Complaints Authority at NATCO building on Henry Street, that is just before Park Street, or you can call 736 TTPS, and of course, SOE at ttps.gov.tt or lowercase. So the avenues are still there where it is you do have a concern or a complaint that you can legitimately make your complaint, and we will follow up on it and make sure that an investigator is appointed and stuff like that. So it's not that because they're an SOE, we want you to think that the police is just going to do. No, we are still operating within our armpit in the professional manner that we know we ought to.
Speaking about police operations, one of the things also we would have gotten over the past week are some numbers coming out of the TTPS. If I'm not mistaken, it was roughly an estimate around maybe 52% decrease from the same period last year to this year.
Yeah, so on up to Friday we had, so if you look at, we had 7 fatal for 2025, 19 for 2024, and 16 for 2023. Up to Friday. So I'm not too sure what the figures are as of this morning. But certainly we are seeing, and I know that a lot, it is not one of the metrics that the TTPS uses only, but we know that it is one that the public uses to measure the TTPS, they look at the homicide rate. And so when we look at it over the period, understanding the trend and that kind of thing where CAP is concerned, we do see a sharp decrease in relation to the homicide at the beginning of the year.
So, Inspector, what metric do we use to measure the success of the SOE then?
Well, certainly that is one of it. We have, of course, retrieved, found, and charged persons with and without firearms. And of course, narcotics, as we know, cannabis, marijuana, as it is commonly called, right? And of course, cocaine. So when we look at some of the data that we have up to yesterday, we see that we have recovered 32 firearms, and 32 firearms meaning heavy arms like AR rifles and shotguns and pistols as well. 32 over just about a 2-week period. We've also recovered 1,030 assorted ammunition. So that'll be 5.56. 0.9 mm of varying caliber. Yeah, right. Bullet ammunition.
Let's making sure we can say that we're on the same page, right?
600, let me say 6.8 grams of cocaine, and for marijuana, over 112,000 grams of marijuana.
Okay, and this, of course, would have been data that would have been quantified from the beginning of the year up until the conference itself, correct?
From SOE period.
From the launch of the SOE.
Yes, so this is strictly SOE figures.
Okay, so if we may ask, moving forward, is the data quantified like on a weekly basis, on a fortnightly basis? How exactly is it collated?
The data is collated every day.
Every single day?
Every day. So we'll have an idea of how many persons were arrested. So we had over the period, so looking at from the 30th, which was when it came into effect, to yesterday, which would have been the 12th. And so we had 569 persons arrested during that period.
Okay.
So every day, the command would collate the data from each division and submit that data to the heads, the commissioner of police, the deputy commissioners, and the various heads, so that they would have that figure. Also, in real time, information is shared through executive conversations that this is what we're looking at, they just found this, they just seized this, and exercises taking place, and that kind of thing. So the data is real time as well as collated on a daily basis.
Okay, and what about accessibility to this data? Is this something that we, the public, are able to access as well?
Well, no, the public will not be able to access the data as in what the command center.
You mean the after data?
Yeah.
Well, we normally share the data with the public. What we have started to do is have regular press briefings to give status updates to the members of the public so that they will know where we are as a country and what the TTPS is doing. So that we share the data, and of course, from that data, it can be posted by any person.
Now, speaking of the data, Inspector, one of the things that was mentioned at the launch of the SOE was that the TTPS was in Ministry of National Security generally would have had certain information that would have led to the situation causing the SOE that says, all right, we need to put this place under lockdown, we need to be able to give police particular rights, so we're doing this. That information, and I mean, I know we can't share what that information was specifically, but can you tell us if it has aided in the arresting of people who are on that list?
So are you talking about priority offenders in particular?
Sure, let's go with that.
All right. So
because I imagine that would be the people that would be on the watch list, so to say.
Yes, so we have targeted priority offenders, and officers have been arresting priority offenders, utilizing the powers within the state of emergency, as well as to conduct the searches. So we have seen an increase in relation to the firearms ammunition, not as much as we would like, because we know that there's quite a lot in the country, but we continue to go steadily with whatever information and data that we get, having verified the information. All right, now one of the things that the TTPS cannot do alone is solve crime and criminality. So we definitely need the members of the public to, I mean, we have heard it before, if you see something, say something, but it's a good time to really share the information with the TTPS, utilizing 736 TTPS, utilizing 555-800 tips to be anonymous, so that we can get the information. So just to give a little context, right? Before we had the SOE, there was a process to get a warrant, and before you can do anything. Now, if you get that information real time and you have verified it or your source is good, then you know that you can act immediately as opposed to waiting for it to move, which is some of the challenges that we will experience. It moves.
Okay.
But can I ask though, even if you are able to act immediately, In the past, in previous SOEs, we've seen situations where people were arrested and then they had to be let go because there wasn't enough evidence to be able to hold them. So even though, yes, you don't need a warrant to be able to go through, what happens in that case now, for example? Are we taking extra precautions to make sure, because we could end up with people suing the state again and winning again?
Yeah, so we learn from the past, and so we do have a team of lawyers, attorneys who are assisting in guiding the process through. And we also want to ensure on a daily basis that officers are briefed to just reiterate certain points that will ensure that when we do and execute our operations, that we have good grounds to do so.
Inspector, very briefly, one of the things you mentioned, of course, is that the TTPS can't do this alone. From the SOE beginning till now, have you seen that cooperation coming in from the general public?
We have. I can give you a case in point. In particular, last week, the Northern Central Division, Aruka in particular, they seized about $2 million in cash, and that was information that they got in real time, acted on it. There was a quantity of US, about 88,000 US as well. So we have seen that cash and unaccounted for. In other words, the persons were so, of course, FIB got involved in that kind of thing. So we are seeing, but of course, we know that the partnership can increase, and definitely we want the public to really engage this opportunity that the TTPS, the country has, that you can share information with us, that we can assist to get all illegal firearms and ammunition off the streets and off homes, out of homes, and the hands of youths.
Well, Inspector, thank you so much for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you as always, and we'll see you next week, Monday.
Thank you so much. Be safe.
Inspector Michelle Lewis here with us this morning on the Now Morning Show. Of course, make sure that you tune in next Monday for another edition. But stay tuned, because our birthdays are coming up right after this break.
All around, especially in town, love and